The flu season is upon us. Which type will we worry about this year? And what kind of shots will we be told to take? Remember the swine flu scare of 1976? That was the year the U.S. government told us all that swine flu could turn out to be a killer that could spread across the nation. And Washington decided that every man, woman, and child in the nation should get a shot to prevent a nationwide outbreak, a pandemic. Well, 46 million of us obediently took the shot. And now 4,000 Americans are claiming damages from Uncle Sam amounting to $3.5 billion.
Science has been captured by for-profit forces. Biomedical regulation is done by and for patent holders and their minions. Public health institutions own vaccine patents, making them financially motivated to exaggerate, if not extend, pandemics. If you control the funding for the research, you can influence the outcome of the research. There is no such thing as science removed from the economic systems that fund research, the interpretations of research, and the dissemination of those interpretations.
During major flu epidemics, millions of people are sick and thousands die. Well, this year you can get protection. The vaccines are safe, easy to take, and they can protect you against flu. So roll up your sleeve. Protect yourself.
In 1976, the NIAID, in conjunction with the early vaccine industry, promoted hysteria about the swine flu. One person died from the virus strain, while thousands were harmed by the mass vaccination. A few years later, though, HIV broke loose, and the NIAID perfected their model for how to maximize profit during a pandemic. How to keep government and insurance money flowing to friendly companies. How to ignore treatments that were no longer patented. How to cancel anyone who questions the profitable narrative. I used to live in Arlington, Virginia, between the National Science Foundation, DARPA, and the Office of Naval Research. Living so close to DC radicalized me. Putting my body on the line for a greater good came naturally.
Back up! Occupy the city!
My friends also pushed the boundaries of what is possible. Through some of these biohackers, I was able to evaluate a plasmid gene therapy for HIV.
First, I want to dedicate this to all the people who have died while not being able to access treatment, even though those treatments were available.
The goal was to teach my body to produce antibodies that neutralize HIV. I was not on traditional medicine at the time, and the plasmids seemed to have little, if any, effect. The company imploded a few months later. My friends Mac and Walter kept working. They formed a company called Minicircle. Walter redesigned the plasmid to potentially last for months after injection. A second test happened in 2020. A third experiment happened in 2021. For the first time, the results from the second and third experiment are being revealed. Drawing inferences from these results is at your own risk. The second plasmid was modified to have all of the bacterial components removed. In theory, when inserted into a cell, it would continue to exist as long as the cell did, perhaps for around a year on average. Directly quantifying the amount of antibody that resulted from this injection was difficult. However, it did seem like my blood serum was better at binding to HIV's envelope following the injection. Admittedly, this enhanced immune response could have been natural. The third version was modified to produce his tags as well as the antibody. These don't occur naturally. Unfortunately, the results indicated that there was some sort of contamination within the samples, perhaps from when moving from one lab to another. It still remains to be seen if these plasmids are able to create a therapeutically relevant quantity of antibodies. Moreover, as these plasmids only express for as long as the cells exist, it seems unlikely that this would be sufficient for a functional cure in most people. During my research into this project, it became evident that a combination approach would be necessary to enhance the likelihood of any functional cure sticking. Besides teaching the body how to produce broadly neutralizing antibodies, it only makes sense to also try to remove the latently infected cells at the same time. This combination approach has many variables that are still unclear. However, if the minicircle plasmid is capable of producing antibodies for months, it could be a viable route for many people in combination with latency reversing agents. The majority of the proceeds from these science NFT auctions will be used to fund additional studies that explore this hypothesis. The proceeds from the second and third experiments NFT will in part go towards the contributors of the first experiment. If the mini-circle approach proves valid in future research, this anti-patent describing a combination approach will be auctioned off in order to provide funding for a phase 1 study. Until then, it will sit in the vault of the research collective.